Ren. Hi, Ren, by, of course, Ren. Now, this is a individual who I'd never heard of previously. I had one of our mods actually recommend him to me. This is someone who I just hadn't heard of. And heard a lot of good things about it. I know I've heard this at least twice. But in terms of actually going through providing an analysis, I don't know enough about it. I wanted to kind of go through and kind of go through with a fine-tooth comb, so to speak. So I wanted to also open this up with a disclosure of musical reactions are not my forte. This is something that I'm definitely going to be trying to figure out. I also want to make sure that, look, I don't have any authorship or ownership. This is a reaction in good faith. And that being said, if someone, Ren or someone on behalf of Ren, I don't know if he has a record label or not. If they don't want this, I'm not in the business of fighting copyright, right? Like, I don't own this content. And obviously that's not a get out of jail free card. That's just full transparency. If this ends up disappearing for one reason or another, absolutely, I'm more than happy to take it down and comply. I'm not in the business of fighting valid copyright. But I figured, let's go ahead and give this a watch. Go through with a comb, fine-tooth comb, and let's see what this has to offer. I don't know enough about him as an artist, but I know he has a lot of people who like him. So I'm very, very curious to see what he has in store. Very strong start. Strong intro. Very strong intro. I like the plucky nature of it. And I don't. It's been a while since I've even remotely touched music, if I'm being honest. Right. Played violin in high school, a little bit of guitar in middle school, a little bit of guitar in high school. Like nothing anywhere near this level. Like I'm very much so not an artist in any way, shape, or form. This is a very strong introduction. Very, very good. I would honestly refer to that as pizzicato on violin, but I don't think that's the correct term. I don't know what the correct term here is. Very strong opening. Good integration of the vocals, building on the first part. Okay.
Hi there, Ran. It's been a little while. Did you miss me? You thought you buried me, didn't you? Risky. Cause I always come back. Deep down you know that. Deep down you know I'm always in periphery. Ran, on you pleased to see me. It's been weeks since we spoke, bro. I know you need me. You're the sheep, I'm the shepherd. Not your place to lead me. Not your place to be biting off the hand that feeds me. Hi, Ran. I've been taking some time to be distant.
Okay.
I've been taking some time to be still. I've been taking some time to be by myself since my therapist told me I'm ill. And I've been making some progress lately. And I've learned some new coping skills. So I haven't really needed you much, man. I think we need to just step back and chill. Ran.
I actually really love this. So this is a conversation. As I said, I've heard this previously like twice, but actually going through and like truly paying attention. I've talked about how O12S, Omega 12 Savage in Final Fantasy 14. How at a certain point the two themes are warring and it almost feels like a conversation between Omega and the Warrior of Light. But that's very, very much a subtle thing because of how the themes war with each other and one answers the other, right? This is very much like that, but not quite like that, in that this is a very much a direct conversation. So when going into this, right, the first thing that comes to mind is, what are we looking at? What discussion is this, actually? The opening of Metallica, I'm actually surprised he got away with that. But Metallica, I guess, doesn't have a record label. I guess they do own their music outright. I was literally having a conversation on this last night. Very interesting that he got away with that. Anyways, I digress. But I mean, so what are we talking about? Obviously, clearly, we had him wheeled in on a wheelchair. Is this some sort of illness? Is this some sort of disease? Is this some sort of shadows of his past? What is very specifically pestering him? And thus, you have Ren responding, I've taken some time, my coping strategies, I haven't really had a need for you, right? And having that direct response, challenging each other. And I think there's something with the lights that ends up happening. I'm trying to pay attention to the scene as a whole, right? I think that the background, the set for this is nothing short of fantastic, right? Very, the ruined walls a little bit, contrasting with some of the warm glow of the lights and stuff. Like this is art through and through.
You sound more insane than I do. You think that those doctors are really there to guide you? Been through this a million times. Your civilian mind is so perfect to always being lied to. Okay, take another pill, boy. Drown yourself in the sound of white noise. Follow this 10-step program, rejoice. All your problems will be gone. Fucking dumb boy. Nah, mate.
Okay, very direct. Okay, so dealing with obviously themes of mental health here. Obviously dealing with self-doubts, obviously dealing with, you think these people are here to fix you. You feel that these people are here to help you. It's just, down another pill. Sure, let that be your response. Let that be your answer. That's interesting.
This time is different, man, trust me. I feel like things might be falling in place. And my music's been kinda doing bits too. Like I actually might do something great. And when I'm gone, maybe I'll be remembered for doing something special with myself. That's why I don't think that we should talk, man. Cause when you're with me, it never seems to help. You think that you can amputate me? I am you, you are me, you are I am we are one. Split in two, that makes one. So you see, you gotta kill you if you wanna kill me. I'm not leftover dinner, I'm not scraps on the side. Oh, your music is thriving, delusional guy. Where's your top 10 hit? Where's your interview with Oprah? Where are your Grammys, Ren? Nowhere. Yeah, but my...
Okay, so I'm loving this because this really touches on some really heavy themes. I mean, as somebody who I've been told it's imposter syndrome, whatever have you, right? Not in the business of self-diagnosing, right? But even myself, right? As someone who's a smaller channel, right? Who tries my best, pause, to be transformative, to be commentative, right? And it feels like it's just fighting an uphill battle, especially when, sure, I could react to this and I could just kind of sit here and go, wow, that's so cool. Maybe add like 3 minutes to the runtime. Sure, I could do that. I could try to play to the algorithm, but that doesn't quite do it for me. And it's hollow if it just becomes, paint by numbers like that. Because there's genuinely lots to talk about in this. And while in this specific situation, we're talking about, someone struggling with their demons, someone trying to come up, right? Someone trying to do better and, looking at the positive things. My music might be doing something, right? Only to have, these old demons you've been dealing with, you're delusional, right? And I think that the interesting thing about art is while we can kind of have a pretty cut and dry, this is what this is, internal struggle, right? I mean, you can apply this to many other things in your life as well. Whether you're dealing with alcoholism, whether you're dealing with depression, whether you're dealing with divorce, whether you're dealing with very heavy themes, right? And you can apply the wisdom and logic and artistic influence from this to other situations in your own problem solving. So it's really interesting to watch this. And watch the back and forth. I think the lights are flickering when specifically the darker influence, the darker tendencies, when they're clapping back, right? I think that's when the lights are flickering. I'm trying to find the pattern.
Music's not commercial like that. I never chase numbers, statistics or stats. I never write hooks for the radio, they never even play me, so why would I concern myself with that? But my music is really connecting, and the people who find it respect it. And for me that's enough, cause this life's been tough, so it gives me a purpose I can rest in. Man, you sound so pretentious. Ran, your music is so self-centered. No one wants to hear another song about how much you hate yourself. Trust me. You should be so lucky, having me inside you to guide you, remind you to manage expectations, provide you perspective. That thing you neglected, I get it. You wanna be a big deal, next Jimi Hendrix, forget it. Man, it's not like that. Man, it's just like that. I'm inside you, you twat. No, it's not, man, you're wrong.
Very
when
snappy.
I write, I belong. Let me break the fourth wall by acknowledging this song. Ren sits down, has a stroke of genius. He wants to write a song that was not done previous. A battle with his subconscious, Eminem did it. Played on guitar, Plan B did it. Man, you're not original, you criminal rip-off artist. The pinnacle of your success is stealing other people's material. Ren, mate, we've heard it all before. She sells seashells on the seashore.
But here's the thing, though, right? See, I relate to this in a lot, and I think a lot of us relate to this in a lot, and I'll get to that in a second, why I feel this is. Where I'm strictly a derivative, yeah, sure, I have the gaming channel where I do episodic content, and I'm trying to pivot harder into that. That way, I feel like I'm actually providing something of value, right? And a lot of people get a lot of value out of reactions that I do as is, right? There are some I feel that I don't do a good job at, and I'm always sad when I don't feel I add enough, right? And already right now, I feel I've paused way too much watching this. But I think that's the point, because you should be, wink, wink, you should be watching the original video of this, because this is art. You want to see more of this? Go support the original video, right? Absolutely. So, as somebody who honestly constantly feels like a derivative of other people, right? You're just you're the guy who reacts to the fat electrician. Oh, you're the guy who did X. You're the guy who did Y. Oh, you're just the guy who reacted to Z, right? Like, I do look at this a lot, and it's very interesting to compare and contrast. Now, I think why this resonates with people a lot is it's a story of it's a human story, right? It's a story that speaks to humanity. And when we see the same thing succeed time and time again, whether it's something like the hero's journey, someone overcoming adversity and all odds, someone doing for things not necessarily out of logic, but a strong desire for companionship, strong desire for friendship, doing it because they feel is right, even when the entire world tells them it's wrong, right? Having very grounded in human stories, right? And I think that becomes, especially in an age where everything is hyper monetized, in a day and age where everything is, you need to make sure you're optimizing everything that you do. Get on that grind set, bro, right? I think that it's very easy for your demons, your inner demons, to really speak up and kind of heckle and harass you, and even get you to stop doing things that you love. So, I mean, who cares if it's the same story reskinned over and over? Dude, like we know how stories are written, right? What is it? A literary plot structure. I'm looking for something very specific. Yeah, like we've all seen this, right? We've all seen these images, right? With the literary structure, right? Exposition, conflict, rising action, climax, literary climax. Yes, YouTube does go after that word. Falling action, resolution. We know how this works, right? We are aware that this is how stories are written, right? I don't know what this specifically called. I just know to it as just your plot structure. And that being said, you can improve on this. You can deviate from this a little bit, right? Story, yes, has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Story first, second, third act, right? But even then, you can have, I remember this from middle school, having a conversation with a teacher about it, where you can have your exposition, and then your inciting incident, your conflict leading into a rising action, which leads into a literary climax, leading into a falling action, which leads into another conflict or another rising action, right? And you can kind of play within this. This is why a game like Final Fantasy XIV was very predictable for me, because it follows the formula. But when following the formula works, it works for a reason. So the question you must ask at that point, why does a story like this work? Why does the structure work? Why does a story like this, that to the demon's own admittance, right? Oh, it's a story people have heard before. People have done this before, right? Why does it still resonate with people? That's the question. Why? And I think there's some really easy answers to that, because it's a story that resonates with people. We'll intake the same thing over and over and over again. Look no further than God Howard himself, Todd, right? Releasing Skyrim on everything. We'll continue to play Skyrim. It gives us that enjoyment. It gives us that longevity, right? And I mean, obviously that's I feel it's a little insulting to even bring up, Skyrim when we're talking about something that's serious, right? But I think it goes to exemplify that we'll consume the same product over and over and over again, as long as we gain something out of it. We feel respected. We feel that there's something of value in it that resonates to us. It's why I love Final Fantasy XIV.
Fuck you, I don't need you, I don't need to hear this, cause I'm fine by myself, I'm a genius, and I will be great, and I will make waves, and I'll shake up the whole world beneath us. That's right, speak your truth, your fucking god complex leaks out of you. It's refreshing to actually hear you say it instead of downplay it.
Music is all about the creative process, and if people can find something to relate to within that, then that's just a bonus.
Fuck you, I'ma fucking kill you, Ren. Well, fucking kill me then, let's fucking have you, Ren. I'ma do it, watch me prove it, who are you to doubt my music? Cause I call the shots, I choose if you die. Yeah, I call the shots and so I choose who survives. I'll tie you up in knots when I lock you inside.
Love the lights during that inner conflict moment. I love that. I think this also really addresses the point of, just because you change certain aspects, or just because you may even become a different person, or you're in a different place in your life, it doesn't necessarily mean that certain things are gone. I mean, sure, they might be dormant, they might be dealt with for all intents and purposes, but, you know, much like the sun sets, you know, every single day, like clockwork. I mean, these things will rear their head time and time and time again. As somebody who self-proclaims I drink with my own demons, right? Like, they will come up time and time again, and it's how we choose to deal with it. Do we choose to let them win? Do we choose to listen to their advice? Or do we take command of our own life and understand what our shortcomings and challenges are? And I think that, sure, the latter is the objective answer, but it's very subjective to people, and some people just don't care. So it's a really interesting way to, I think, judge someone's character. And once again, speaking to the human experience, right? Everyone goes through struggles, whether that's grades, whether that's finances, whether that's dealing with family issues, whether that's marital issues, right? Whether that's unfortunate things that people have been through, that they've been subject to by other people. Everyone goes through challenges, and that also gets into, you know, how comparing traumas is kind of a really degenerative spiral, right? Because trauma is subjective to each individual. Some people go through a lot more than others, but some people, it affects harder than others, and there's certain things that affect people more than others. Silent Hill 2 Remake. Abstract Daddy was a very good boss design, 10 out of 10. That affected me for a couple days, though. Let's put it that way. Like, and then that gets into how gaming is a safe space. Different conversation entirely, right? I like this inner dialogue, though, and I like the struggle, and you definitely hear the escalation, and you hear the yelling back and forth instead of the reasoned, rational debate. It's very short and snappy clapbacks from both sides, and clearly being egged on by the darker half, right? It's very interesting to watch.
Newsflash! I was created at the dawn of creation. I am temptation. I am the snake in Eden. I am the reason for treason, beheading all kings. I am sin, with no rhyme or reason. Son of the morning, Lucifer, Antichrist, father of lies. Mephistopheles, truth in a blender, deceitful pretender, the banished avenger, the righteous surrender. When standing in front of my solar eclipse, my name is stitched to your lips. So you see, I won't bow to the will of a mortal, feeble and normal. You wanna kill me? I'm eternal immortal. I live in every decision that catalyzes chaos, that causes division. I live inside death, the beginning of end. I am you, you are me, I am you, friend.
I think that's really interesting. And Raven from chat points out a good point. Your subconscious is eternal, though it evolves over time. Absolutely. And I think this very much is, I like the imagery used here. Obviously, I don't try to touch on religion because it's just one of those few red lines that I don't like to cross, right? One of those that I don't really want to cross that respectfully. But here, I appreciate the imagery, and you understand that it's done in an artistic sense, right? It's meant to be evocative of that imagery, while not necessarily pushing said imagery or telling you what to think, right? And it is telling you a story, and for you to make your own conclusions, to draw your own comparisons, and really intake the information and allegories, allusions he's making, and really, really work with them, right? Because you're effectively, yes, you're listening to a song, right? But you're watching a conversation unfold with something humanity has been dealing with, as he says, since the dawn of time, right? Why do we steal? Why do we lie? Why do humans do the things that they do, right? And I think everyone has their own different answer. Some have their own subjective answers. Some think their answer is objective, right? And I think that's also a reason why I don't cover the topic of religion, because it's personal to each person. That's none of my business. Come to your own conclusion, whatever that may be. But I like that this does speak to people across just the entire spectrum. And I feel that every single one of us has dealt with something like this. The lights as well flickering in that were amazing. I also like the shift.
Hi, Ren. I've been taking some time to be distant. I've been taking some time to be still. I've been taking some time to be by myself, and I've spent half my life ill. But just as sure as the tide starts turning, just as sure as the night has dawned, just as sure as the rainfall soon runs dry when you stand in an eye of a storm. I was made to be tested and twisted. I was made to be broken and beat. I was made by his hand, it's all part of his plan that I stand on my own 2 feet. And you know me, my will is eternal. And you know me, you've met me before. Face to face with a beast, I will rise from the east and I'll settle on the ocean floor. And I go by many names also. Some people know me as hope. Some people know me as the voice that you hear when you loosen the noose on the rope. And you know how I know that I'll prosper? 'Cause I stand here beside you today. I have stood in the flames that cremated my brain, and I didn't once flinch or shake. So care of the man I've become when I sing from the top of my lungs, that I won't retire, I'll stand in your fire, inspire that me to be strong. And when I am gone I will rise in the music that I left behind. Ferocious, persistent, immortal like you, we're a different side.
What a great, I mean, look at the light shining behind him too. Like, this is done very, very well. And, you know, also the show not tell, I mean, I guess I want to say show not tell, but the fact that it tracks, right? When he says he can stand on his own 2 feet, what does he do? He stands on his own 2 feet. And there's that kind of follow through, that kind of like immersion, so to speak. I very much am a fan of that. And also, like, you notice how this starts out, especially with how argumentative they were, I would argue, in the part 2 here, in the mid section, right, where they're arguing with each other. The darker side ends up clapping back with, I am timeless. I've been here since the dawn of time, right? And then, notice how he approaches this. Does he necessarily get angry, or does he steal his resolve and, reiterate what he did towards the beginning? I've taken some time for myself. This is my resolve. The fact that he has the vocal range he does too is amazing and really sells this. This man is incredibly talented. Good breakdown. His vocal range is that sure is something. Oh, okay.
When I was 17 years old, I shouted out into an empty room, into a blank canvas, that I would defeat the forces of evil. And for the next 10 years of my life, I suffered the consequences, with autoimmunity, illness, and psychosis. As I got older, I realized there were no real winners and there were no real losers in psychological warfare. But there were victims, and there were students. It wasn't David versus Goliath. It was a pendulum, eternally swaying from the dark to the light. And the more intensely that the light shone, the darker the shadow it cast. It was never really a battle for me to win. It was an eternal dance. And like a dance, the more rigid I became, the harder it got. The more I cursed my clumsy footsteps, the more I struggled. So I got older, and I learned to relax, and I learned to soften, and that dance got easier. It is this eternal dance that separates human beings from angels, from demons, from gods. And I must not forget, we must not forget, that we are human beings.
I think the use of silence there was incredible. I don't think silence is often used enough, especially for that heart-to-heart monologue type moment at the end, right? That is nothing short of artistic and amazing, and a very good fade to black, right? I very much love this. This that's a 10. I absolutely love that. That itself is I don't have notifications on, but that in itself is absolutely subscribe worthy. I will say, I think I definitely, if I do another music reaction like this, I wonder if keeping it minimalistic on screen is probably going to be the optimal play, at least the more respectful play. I know going full screen can be seen as a little disrespectful, can be seen as a little too derivative of the original source material. So I definitely, I'm looking for feelers out on that. And as I said, if a copyright issue does arise, this is one of those things. I mean, I don't claim any sort of authorship or ownership. This is something I wanted to do because honestly, this was very good when I was recommended this, and to really kind of go through and kind of look at this. I think that this is something you could watch several times over. Take a break for 6 months, a year. This is something you could come back to time and time again, and really kind of check how far you've grown, if your worldview has changed. I would argue a word for this, a very good descriptor, would be timeless. I honestly love this. I thought that this was amazing. And if there's one thing that I would like for this video to do, it is to make sure that even one person out there can find who I think is honestly a fantastic artist, who is this is good. I would not sing. I'm not in the business of giving hollow praise. I'm not in the business of, sure, obviously metrics, right? Yeah, right. But like, I'm not in the business of giving hollow praise out, or even false praise where it's not deserved, right? And I think that with 1.6K reactions, I feel that at least of currently, I feel I've built up a fair amount of rapport to say that. It's also why I don't really take sponsorships. Because I want to make sure that I use the product, I believe in the product. I also feel it would be a little disingenuous, right? Can you imagine if something like this was sponsored by X, right? Not X as in Twitter, but like variable X. If this was sponsored by somebody, I feel that would just be a little disingenuous. That's why I haven't done it. This was amazing. I have no words for it. This was a really good look into human nature. I think a lot of us can resemble themes from this, saying that you're going to do something like in the end, in the finale, where he said he wanted to fight the forces of evil and has spent the past decade, the past 10 years dealing with autoimmunity and dealing with health issues, right? And I think as somebody who definitely expects a lot from myself, to put it lightly, I can get behind that in my subjective life experience, and I'm sure you and your subjective life experience can come to your own conclusions and your own parallels, whatever they may be. And I think that, once again, the end, it is a timeless song, but it's also a very human song. And I think that in a world where messaging is kind of crammed down your throats, you're told what to think. I think a piece like this that is it's very direct, obviously, imagery to angels, demons, gods. I view that more like how everyone says, abandon all hope, ye who enter here, right? It's like how you see Dante's Inferno everywhere, but it's mostly because it's Dante's pillow book and commentary on religion at the time, right? That's as far as I'm diving into that, right? But like how, things will get appropriated from Dante's Inferno and stuff, and it's used for certain imagery and stuff, right? That's more how I view it at. But this is very much a come to your own conclusion, come to your own subjective, educated conclusion on it, honestly. And as I said, I would absolutely recommend that you go ahead and check out the original video in the description down below. That is where you're going to find it. Also, just searching up Hyren. Very good song. I don't know how I turned this into almost 30 minutes. But hopefully people found enjoyment in this. And hopefully at least someone out there finds a new artist to add to their playlist. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will see you all in the next one.